Yeah, it is another episode of the Autumn Windbags. RJ, Cliff Burke, Juan Soto. Let's have some fun today. It was a wonderful sporting weekend, Soto. It started out great. UFC 320 was awesome. UCLA upset Penn State. I won both my fantasy leagues. And yet, it never feels right if the Raiders get their dicks kicked in like they did against the Colts.
Rough, man, rough. The weekend, I guess it started off good. I had the tip of the week. I said, you got to get Alex Pereira. You got to put the house on Pereira. That's why I said, trust me on this. He was sick. He wasn't doing well the last fight, and it was still a decision victory. He's going to take it to him, and he did. Want some nice money, which is fine. And, yeah. I bet the over 48. And I thought it was in good shape because the Colts made 40 of those on their own. Just that last 8, a little rough.
I didn't check the over under before, but when Pete Carroll hit that last like hilariously bad field goal at the end of the game, I was just like, "What's the over under?" And then I checked. I was like, "Oh, they kept it on the under." I was like, "Ah, it wasn't a betting move." I always wonder those things now.
That's rough, man. That was rough.
The one favor Pete Carroll can do for the for Raider Nation, make sure the under hits. Fucking guy.
At least me, you know.
So where do you want to start, Soto? I think this season, I think the most blame lies on Geno Smith's shoulders. Not just in Indianapolis, but I think in general. There's obviously tons of blame to go around, and we will, trust me, don't worry, guys. We'll get to whoever you're yelling at with the Raiders right now. We will get to that person. Don't you worry. But I think Sunday was the best example. I mean, I thought it was Chip Kelly's best game. There were wide receivers that were open. Ashton Jeanty, when he did get the ball, played well. O-line wasn't great, but not the atrocity that it was earlier in the season.
They were fine. They were fine.
Yeah, they were, it was an O-line. It wasn't a disaster. And that's even with Colton Miller on IR, right? And Stone Forsyth wasn't turnstile like we all kind of were worried about. It's like, okay, like I think a lot of players had a decent game plan, and then it was Geno Smith. That just completely Geno Smith all over the floor. It was so bad.
He just looks unsure. He looks unprepared. But there's a couple. I'm not trying to give him any outs. The issue that we're having here is he's not playing with his first or second string tight end. He's playing with a lot of rookie receivers who may not be as adept at route running, and it's a lot of learning curve right now. It's kind of like I said about Ashton Jeanty, where there's so many layers of new that's affecting Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty is a rookie running back having to survey the defense. You have a young offensive line and a first-time offensive line coach. That's a lot of new to be able to shake the rust off or to kind of shine up what you have in order to be running at peak performance, and even more so with a receiver quarterback connection, especially when you throw in disguised defenses and things like that, and how they change up their look post snap. These receivers have to, be precise, and that's not normally something that's stressed in the college game. It's more so just getting out in space and stuff like that. So that could be an issue as well. I'm not giving Geno any shakes whatsoever. I'm not giving him any breaks or anything like that. He's played terrible, but there's also, 2 of the 4 guys that we throw out there most of the time are rookies.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of that Dante Thornton interception. When Geno threw in a double coverage, Dante was it's like a hitch, right? Supposed to come back. Instead, he was floating back.
Sit on it, yeah, and he did it.
Yeah, you're supposed to come back to it, right? And he just kind of floated deeper, and both Colts DBs are like, that's an easy one. Now, Geno shouldn't have thrown it, seeing that, right? But again, I think to your point, right? Like Geno's not getting a ton of help in a lot of places, but he's, I think, exacerbating everything worse because guys were open. Like there was a lot of open. I think that's why he likes Trey Tucker so much because he's, it's weird. The third year guy is kind of the veteran pass catcher, but it's true, right? Other than Jacoby Myers,
Jacoby Myers is checked out, dude.
Yeah, but like other than him, he's the most senior guy. And because the Raiders got behind so early, like they had to go into a pass happy scheme. But with Chip Kelly, like we saw a cool little speed option that was good for a first down. That was a nice little wrinkle. We finally saw a couple of screens to Ashton Jeanty, which we've been screaming about all season. Wide receivers were open. The play calling was to get the ball out faster, which was the O-line playing a lot better, or were they kind of playing, or is Chip being better about playing around them? I'm still kind of watching that and trying to figure that out. But like at the end of the day, if Geno just misses open wide receivers, throws to the wrong team, like if you can't execute as QB1, like kind of everything else falls apart.
Well, you have that, and although for the most part Chip had a much better game, you have these very questionable calls. 2nd and 3, and you're in the shotgun. I think that's both on Chip and on Geno. You got to be ready to throw that ball out of the end zone if you're Geno. You can't lose that field position. Just huck it. As far as Chip Kelly goes, I don't know what you're thinking, man. That's if you can't get 3 yards and 2 runs, then you deserve to not have scored any points. You were running the ball well. I don't know, man. It just there's a lot of, like Pete Carroll was saying in his press conference, the big plays against us in special teams are huge, but also there's big moments within these games that we're not just doing poorly, we're screwing up. And that was one of them. That was a coaching and a player screw up on the 3-yard line to start the game.
So what now? People are calling for Kenny Pickett. I mean, when you have the most interceptions in the league, like, is it like that a terrible choice? I'm not overly committed one way or the other. But my thing is like because people are making fun of Pete Carroll, like why when it's 40-6 and you're down so much in the fourth quarter, why did you not pull Geno? He's like, well, he needs more reps, he needs more practice, and people were jumping down his throat on him for that. With me, I'm like, maybe Pete is starting to get that this is a rebuild year and doing it accordingly. So whether it's Kenny or Geno, whoever is most likely to start next season should be the garbage time guy, right? Like Geno's got a contract. Yes, the Raiders can get out of Geno after year 1. It'd be a big swift kick in both pills, but he's probably going to be on the roster next season. If anyone needs more reps, you want it to be the guys that are going to be around longer. I'm not against Geno Smith being the garbage time quarterback, whether he starts or not.
Ultimately, I understand why, because you need to get at any chance that you can to get improvement, right? Mm-hmm. Keep them in the game, get them more reps, get them to see more things. What I don't understand is if you're going to keep Geno Smith in the game for that reason, why are you kicking a field goal down 40-3? You don't think you're going to run into a must make 4th down or a must make 3rd down that you can call a play? I understand that you lost yardage on third down, but it's like it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't match up, and that is what's really bugging me about Pete Carroll. I understand, like from a penthouse view, I understand. I get it. We're building towards something. This has been common in his tenures where they didn't start off great, but once it clicked, everything started to fall into place. I understand that. I understand that he sees the issues that are popping up, that are creeping up, and they're not issues throughout the board. They're just issues in important moments. A 3rd down and 12 early in the game when you're going to get the ball up 3-0, and 3 guys are between the receiver, Josh Downs, and the first down marker, and he wiggles between all 3 to get a first down. Like, those are big moments in games. They ended up scoring a touchdown and was off to the races after that. So there's these little points throughout the game were terrible on third downs. You know, the penalties that gave them first downs. I think they got 4 first downs off of penalties. So we're just giving them extra stuff. So I understand why he kept Geno Smith in there. I just don't get why you would keep Geno Smith in there just to kick a field goal. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think it's it's never like black and white, right? With coaches, you're like, okay, our goal is to win now, or our goal is to build for next season. But they're always like trying to save face, and it's every coach, right? You like to think that we'd have the coach, or your favorite coach is the one that's just like, no, these are my principles, and I stick to it. He's like, you know what? I don't want to miss on 4th and long. Let's just take the 3.
But again, what does it do for you though? What does it do? What do you gain from that? Nothing.
Because a 40-3 loss is so much worse than a 40-6. It's like night and day difference.
You don't gain anything from it. You know, at least if you're preaching competition, we're like, screw it. We're down. We're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. We're going to try to score touchdowns here. We need to you know, a trial by fire, get out there. You know, it's just that's one of the things that really bugs me. And just, I'm not saying that Pete Carroll is a hypocrite, but that hypocritical behavior, it doesn't match up what you're trying to, and then you're trying to sell me on competition, but the competition isn't there at quarterback. This is our guy regardless. Now, if that's the case, I understand. And you can still preach competition, but have it be different for the quarterback. Just say it. Just be more upfront about it. This is our guy. In practice, throughout everything that we've done, Geno Smith is a much more capable, much better quarterback than Kenny Pickett. If that is the view, fine. Just tell us that up front so we know that the competition is more so for the rest of the team, but we need to build up this quarterback because he's our best chance to win. I understand that, and I even agree with that. Not that I agree with doing it, not that it's Geno Smith is so much better than Kenny Pickett. I'm not saying that. But I agree with that logic. But just don't give this blanket statement of compete, and then have Geno Smith not competing with anything.
I'll say a couple good things about Pete Carroll because trust me, we'll get to all the other stuff here in a second. But I'm not so against him treating different guys different because different players react to different things, right? Jackson Powers Johnson,
you got to fire him up.
It's been handled poorly, but I kind of get like that's a bear you need to poke. And then you get a better experience, you get a little bit more out of them. You know what I'm saying? You're just like, oh, you think you're hot shit? Like, all right, how about you sit over here for a while and you just sit there and fume? Whereas Geno Smith is like, you have to baby him. You have to put your arm around him and say everything's going to be okay, which is why Pete Carroll with a straight face at a press conference after losing 40-6 can say, yeah, I thought Geno played solid. Yeah, he's solid. He's solid. Like, again, we'll get to Pete Carroll's problems here in a second. But Pete Carroll's not so dumb where he thinks Geno Smith was solid. It's if I come down on him, he's going to emotionally fall apart, even more so. And you see that with I have a rule like in mixed martial arts, and you know the Soto at Spider Muay Thai. It's like I never come down on a cornerman in a fight because you never know what's going on in between the ears of the fighter. Some fighters, you have to say, you're getting your ass kicked. Get your act together. You fucking suck. And they come, and that's what fires them up and gets them back going again. You tell another fighter, even though they're down 4-0 going into the 5th round, you have to tell them, you're doing great. You're doing awesome. You're right there, right? Just change this and this, and you can win. Because if you tell them they're down, they just like freak out, right?
Yeah, they crumble.
So I'm not saying it's always working, but I'm not against Pete Carroll having different standards and treating different players differently because
me either. But just have that be a little bit more transparent about it because it's starting to come off as phony now. Now again, this is public perception, and it doesn't matter what happens in the locker room. I'm sure the locker room understands what's happening, but still, I mean, maybe I'm being just a little selfish, and I want it for my sake. But I know what's happening here. The losing is getting to me. And the way we're losing is getting to me because we've lost in the worst manner possible. We've gotten our ass kicked looking like shit, and then we've lost a close game looking like shit. Like, so it's like we've lost, like we haven't looked good in a loss.
We're finding new and creative ways to lose. Because like This is what's crazy, right? Like I turned off the game, or I turned it to red zone like late in the third quarter. I was like, I'll watch shit later. Like I'm over this. And then when I went back and I'm looking at the numbers, we were pretty, other than special teams, which again we'll get to that. Special teams was a fucking bonk, was nuts, and then Geno Smith throwing picks. Other than that, first downs, Raiders 22, Colts 24. Third down efficiency, Colts 8 of 10, Raiders 8 of 14. It's pretty good. Total plays, Raiders 65, 57 for the Colts. Total yards, 296 for the Raiders, 317 for the Colts, 19-yard difference. Penalties, we had 6 for 65. They had 9 for 77. Time of possession, Raiders had it 33-25 to 26-35. Like, you look at all the numbers, you're like, wow, that's a pretty even game. And you look up at the scoreboard, and it's 40-6 because of special teams and turnovers. You're just like, look, it'd be hilarious if I said the Raiders are like a quarterback away from like really competing. That's not what I'm saying. But you look at how everyone else performed, offense specifically, and it's like, shit, man. This Geno's dragging the whole thing down.
Yeah, the big difference in the game was the Colts scored 21 points off of our turnovers, and the block punt being one of them as well. And we were, I believe, 0 for 4 in the red zone and touchdowns, and they were something ridiculous like 6 for 6 or something like that, or
6
5
for
6.
5. They were 6 for 6. We were 0 for 4.
Yeah, there's the game right there. If you want to just boil it down to the stat that makes the most sense as to why we lost by so many, 0 for 4 in the red zone. There were 6 for 6. And this is something that I talked about in my show on defense. This is not an explosive offense. This is a matriculate the ball down the field type of offense. This is the type of offense that we wanted to play, because the way we play defense is where that's kind of like that sticks defense where we make you make the play after the catch. Unfortunately, we weren't able to tackle. So the Colts did to Devin White what we were supposed to do, and what we would have done had we had Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers to Zaire Franklin. He's not good in coverage. We would have used him in coverage, but ended up they used Devin White in coverage. Devin White was terrible.
The guy just refuses to like get depth in coverage. It's just like he's just like, nope, I'm here. I'm over here now. This is where I stay.
He's much more of a downhill type of linebacker at this point. His lateral movement, I don't know if his foot problems and stuff like that are messing with his lateral movement, but he's much more of a front and back type of guy. He doesn't really move well side to side. And I mean, what was he against in passing? 6 for 6, and with 3 missed tackles. Mm-hmm. I think the QBR he allowed was like almost 100. It was like 98.7 or something like that.
I got made fun of for calling our linebackers dime store linebackers. Like, they're not starters. None of them are. Landon Roberts, like these guys, like they have, like Roberts is great in goal line. Like, he's a thumper. Like, there's a fine role for him on a defense. He's not a 3-down linebacker. He's not. And this whole Devin White, like, it was his mind, and he just, his personal life was just all over the place. And that's like, no, he's just who he is. He is who he is. When he's on like one of the best defenses in football and he gets to just be him, and then, yeah, he can get you some numbers. But if you need to like be multi-layered, 3, 4, 5-dimensional, 3-down back, you're just not that guy.
Jamal Adams
never will be. What?
Jamal Adams is the closest thing we have. At least he can cover a little bit.
Yeah. Our best linebackers are safety.
I think our best 3 linebackers are safeties. You have Jeremy Chin. Mm-hmm. Who else? Isaiah Polamalu is better in the box. Like, those are probably our best 3 guys.
No one can cover. So let's get to Pete Carroll. We mentioned, in fairness to him, he normally takes a little while to get going. I'm showing a graph right now if you can't see it because you're on the podcast. 94, when he started out with the Jets, through 5 games, he was 2-3. In 97 with the Pats, he was 4-1. That was his best one. At 2001 with SC, he was 1-4. 2010 with the Seahawks, 3-2, and obviously 1-4 with the Raiders. It takes him a little time to get going with the new regime. So, like, again, this isn't like a defense of him. He's not going anywhere, guys. Like, he's not getting fired. If you're, it's 5 games. If you're furious now, he might retire. He might finish out the season and be like, you know what? I think I'm good. I don't want to do this anymore. That might happen, but he ain't getting fired. So when you're dealing with Pete Carroll and understanding what he's doing, it's important to understand that. My biggest issue with him is how he's handling the people, because personnel decisions, obviously Spytek's GM, Brady has a say, Pete Carroll has a say. I'm sure Chip and Patrick have a say. Like, there's some things being said in there. So it's not who he has, because once you have it, it's on the coach. He just has handled so many different player personnel decisions. So weird. We haven't even talked about Germaine Pratt yet. Just didn't fly with the team, got cut. He was really the only complete linebacker the Raiders had, and they just cut him for reasons.
Yeah, it's there's a certain way. There's a certain way that Pete Carroll coaches, and Pete Carroll gets his point across. And to his credit, it works, but it doesn't always work right away. So let's look at this here, just to give you an example. Okay. Or where's the record, Pete Carroll record? Is that it?
No, right here.
Okay. In 2001, he started off 1-4. He ended up 6-6. All right, let's take a peek. Okay, let's take a peek into the next few years with USC. 11-2, 12-1, 13-0, 12-1, 11-2, 11-2, 12-1. And his last 2 seasons was 9-4 and 8-5. It was a hell of a run.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he lost 6 games his first year, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The next 5 years, he lost 6 games.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand it's a little bit different because you can pick whoever you want as far as the players go. And maybe they were doing their own little bootleg version of NIL back in the day. But
there's no salary cap with SC.
No salary cap over there. With Jimmy Johnson in Miami. What the hell am I paying you guys for? Look, understand this. The best players, if you're in the NFL, you're an elite athlete. You're an elite player. There's a reason why you get these terrible teams that upset teams that are so much better than them in the record books, because there's still elite athletes everywhere on any roster. There's the freakiest athlete you've ever seen in your life. You've never met a guy more athletic than him, and he's the third string safety. These guys in the NFL are just that good. So I'm not on this whole, when I start hearing things like fire Pete, whoa. We can't do that. We have to understand something. This roster is bad, and it's bad for a few reasons. It's bad because our drafting has been bad, and it's bad because this is the 4th regime in 5 seasons. And every time you bring a new regime in, a lot of the peripheral players change, and you don't get any continuity, and you don't build guys from within your own program. You don't get guys who are backups who have been in your program for 2-3 seasons and who understand just as well as the starters. So if they go out or if they move on to a new team, they can slot right in because they've been in the same system for the last 2-3 years. We don't have that. So it's going to take time. Did we think that maybe we had enough star power at certain positions to be able to win games? Yeah, we had some issues. I think the Lonnie Johnson injury was a lot bigger than people are letting on defensively because of the role he was going to play. I think that because he is not there to play that kind of a hybrid safety role, then Isaiah Polamau is now doing it, and he's not doing really well at all. That was supposed to be more of a Lonnie Johnson role. But that's not, like, oh, Lonnie Johnson's, that's why we're losing all these games. But, you got Brock Bowers, who was 100% for 3/4 of the only win we had. And ever since then, we haven't been able to use one of the best weapons in the entire NFL. That's another one. So there's certain things that we couldn't absorb backups or peripheral starters getting injured, and let alone one of our best players on the entire team getting injured. So I'm not saying that we need to give Pete Carroll a break but we need to break on calling for his head.
Yeah, I mean, because you're bashing your head against the wall, right? He's not going anywhere. So you critique him. What do we want to see change? What needs to be different? Like that's all there. But whether you like it or not, he's in it for the rest of the season and longer. So my big things, and there's a lot of things to go on with Pete Carroll, but my big things is like what I was hoping he would do, because we've seen this a million times, Soto. Players will be pretty good somewhere, come to the Raiders and suck. Or they'll be like Antonio Brown. Like there was like simmerings of him being a head case in Pittsburgh. Like people kind of knew, but it wasn't
front page. It was a little bit bigger than that.
But, well, yeah. It was nothing like
nothing compared to when he got here. No.
When doing the Raiders, right? There's like people are like, oh yeah, he's worth the headache, like because he's not that big of a head. He's such a talent, but we've heard some rumblings, but he'll still be fine. And he comes to the Raiders, burns his feet off, helmet gate. Now he's jerking off in pools in Dubai. Like then everything top came off. I thought, oh, Pete Carroll's kind of the guy that can stop that can get the best out of guys instead of the worst out of guys. And instead we're getting, and I'm not saying Germaine Pratt is all on Pete Carroll. I'm not saying the Christian Wilkins fiasco is all on Pete Carroll. I'm not saying Amari Cooper showing up for a cup of coffee and quitting a week later is all because of Pete Carroll. But I was hoping that Pete Carroll would take us the other direction. And like, hey, maybe we can take a little bit of a head case because there's so much plus upside. We can absorb that. Pete Carroll can coach him, keep him mentally good, and roll, right? We always use the example. Amari Cooper, when he went to the Cowboys, they started a chess club for that dude because he wanted him to feel at home and feel welcome. And here's something you like, so we'll start a club for you. Like it's, back to school in third grade. But it worked. They got a lot out of Amari Cooper. I thought Pete Carroll would be something like that. And so far, it's been business as usual. If you're a head case somewhere, you'll probably be a bigger head case with the Raiders.
You play devil's advocate here, okay?
Devil it up.
What if
Deviled
Pete
eggs.
Carroll recognizes that although he does have strong leadership in the locker room isn't right to handle that type of player. Not when he's trying to build something. He's trying to build from the foundation. Mm-hmm. You're going to have a strong foundation throughout the locker room, not just a couple of players, but throughout the locker room to be able to handle that type. If Christian Wilkins wasn't taking his rehab serious, let's just, for example, I'm not saying yes or no, but from what we've been hearing, Christian Wilkins was not only was he not taking his rehab seriously, but he was also screwing around and not taking his work, even his studying seriously and making people feel uncomfortable, so he had to go. Then you get Germaine Pratt, who had run-ins with coaches previous to his run-in, alleged run-in with Max Crosby. And that's what you want your leaders to keep everyone in line. And if your leader on your defense is calling you out for whatever reason, not knowing your assignment, loafing around, not hustling, whatever, and you get into a verbal, some say physical altercation, others say, yeah, you can't have that in your locker room. And it's not like, Germaine Pratt, he was the best linebacker we had, but he wasn't lighting the world on fire. He was still ranked 88 out of 125 linebackers. Like he wasn't, a guy that we can hang our hat on. So these are the type of things that I think you have to do when you're trying to build something from like the bare bones. The guys are not staying in line, and then you got to let them go, no matter who they are.
Yeah, I mean, you have a couple options, right? When you've got a potential athlete, like a potential, not star, but like, okay, yeah, a solid contributor that's worth having around, but then you have to weigh in what he does to the locker room, right? Like sometimes the right decision is just cut him off. Let's just cut that cancer out and deal with it. The best case scenario is you've got a really good coach or position coach or a leader on the team that handles it and can get the most out of that guy. There hasn't been any of that. Like no one's playing their best anything. And I was hoping Pete would be that guy to be able to treat not just the X's and O's and the 40 time and the bench press, but the human being. And if it's happening, we're not seeing it anywhere, right? There's not a single guy that's like, wow, this guy's really coming to his own under Pete. Like that's what I was hoping for, was something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's also, it's a two-way street though. It's also the player themselves. The player has to, the play on the field isn't showing much, but the person in Devin White is showing to be a lot different than what we've heard he is. You hear him in the locker room scrum and stuff like that about how he's there to help and he just wants to win. And I don't know if it's lack of effort, but definitely there's a skill set that he's not possessing to be able to do what the defense is asking him to do. So it doesn't seem like it's lack of trying or lack of willingness. So those are the type of guys you want to keep around. The other guys who are just, I don't know, maybe allegedly, again, we don't know what's going on exactly in the locker room, but there's been many rumors and unsubstantiated reports that there was a lot of tension surrounding Germaine Pratt in that locker room.
Mm-hmm. We'll get to the defense in general then. I think there's there's a lot of finger pointing. What's that South Park? When Randy Marsh is pretending like he's Jesus, he's just like, we need to stop pointing fingers. Finger pointing gets us nowhere. Steve, we're going to point a lot of fingers. All right. Because it's going to get us somewhere. But I think the two biggest things is the missed tackles. Fourth highest missed tackle rate in the NFL. Like, we're playing soft zones with everything in front of you. Like, should be that should help you out with your tackling a little bit. And then we're not getting any pass rush consistently from anyone other than Max. And that was supposed to be the entire crux of the defense, right? We can go young on the back end because you're going to have a great defensive line. No Christian Wilkins. It's killing us. Malcolm Kuntz had like one good game and then kind of been quiet. And then Max gets triple teamed and does the best he can. I think those two things, we'll get to the individuals, we'll get to scheme, we'll get to a lot of other stuff, but those two fundamental issues are the foundation of all the other problems that stem from it.
There's it's a serious problem when what you're trying to do and what your whole defense basically is based on, you're one of the worst in the league. And we're not trying to play this tight man where we can let our long, tall, fast corners make up ground and blanket receivers. We're looking to make more of like a dome, a protective dome over the defense and charge up whenever. But if you're charging up and you're not tackling, then you're leaving yourself really open for big plays, which is what has been happening. So a lot of the completions and stuff like that, the 6-for-6 completions against Devin White isn't as big a concern for me because that the defense lends itself to that. As long as you run up and tackle them, there's no yards after catch, then the 6-for-6 is not it's not optimal, but it's not a huge deal. What the huge deal is the 3 missed tackles. That's the huge deal.
And then also I think things are getting worse and probably aren't going to get better because now there's tape on Devin White and Kyu Blu Kelly. Like, these two guys are just getting picked on constantly. Just Kyu Blu Kelly, he's allowed 346 yards this season, the most in the NFL. The second most is Riley Moss with the Broncos at 262. 346 is the most. The second most is 262. And
there's two different reasons for that too. They're not picking on Riley Moss because he stinks. They're picking on Riley Moss because on the other side is Pat Surtain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, probably the best corner in the entire league. Okay, that's why they're picking on. It's the less of two evils when it comes to Riley Moss, and with him, it's just volume. They're just throwing at him a ton. Kyu Blu Kelly, he's on one side, and on the other side is Darian Porter. So you're throwing at Kyu Blu Kelly because he stinks, not because he's the better of two options.
So much worse than a third-round rookie.
It's a bummer, man. It sucks. I hate making fun of it, but it sucks, man.
And it's not going to get better because now there's just more and more tape on these two guys, and they're just going to keep getting picked on more and more and more, and the pass rush isn't there to pick it up. And that's the issue, right? Like, and I think Patrick Graham has done the best he can. Guys are usually in position. Devin White isn't. Guys are usually like in pretty decent position. They're just either getting beat or missing the tackle. So I hear a lot of hate about these soft zone that Patrick Graham is doing. I'm just like, do you want Kyu Blu Kelly and man? Like, do you want to do like cover 0 with Darren Porter? Like, come on. Like, this is all he can do. And there isn't the pass rush. And so it's not like he can be like, hey, we can play man because the pass rush will be there in 2.5 seconds. This quarterback has to do 3 steps and throw. The pass rush isn't there. So, like, Patrick, all you can do is that soft zone and a don't keep everything in front of you to make it easier for you to tackle. And you're still missing the tackles.
It stinks, man.
It's rough.
It stinks. It sucks because what we're looking at here is it's hard because I understand that is Pete Carroll's MO. That's he loves cover 3. We're playing more cover 3, I think almost 60%, over 55% than anyone else in the NFL. And that's his motto is play that swarming defense on the back end, but run up and tackle. But my issue is if your team is showing you that they can't do that, they're in position and they're not able to do it, maybe you should try something a little different. Maybe you should quit trying to run them into the ground doing the same thing over that they're showing you they're not capable of doing at the level you need them to. Maybe he's right. Maybe you just need to do it more and be better at it. Like the tackling in the preseason was god-awful. They concentrated on it, and it got better. This is another game, the second game that was on the road, where we go out there and we look like we can't tackle.
So we'll save the worst for last. Special teams. This was supposed to be a strength of the Raiders. It kind of has been a strength of the Raiders. Out of all the offensive and defensive issues over the last several years, special teams has always been pretty good. Rich Bisaccia had great schemes. We have one of the best kicking tandems in the game. It was supposed to be, a strength, something to lean on, right? Like, hey, the 3 phases of football, special teams should be pretty consistent for the Raiders, doing well. 32nd ranked special teams in EPA DVOA. Last. There's 32 teams in the NFL, for those of you who don't know. It's on pace for a record low EPA.
That's rough, dude.
It's atrocious.
There's not much analysis on that. It is what it is. It stinks. It's terrible. This team, that shows you that this team is making monumental mistakes because they're put in positions to be able to do good things, but they're just screwing it up. They're just, and it's not like they're playing a ton of young players. They got a lot of players that have been, played a lot of ball in the league. So that's.
And you think of like last season, right? Like the defense wasn't good last season, but it sparked here and there. They were helped by AJ Cole, right? Like the punting game was so good that at least, hey, most teams did drive the entire length of the field for us, but at least we made them have to drive the entire length of the field. Opposite issue this time. Think to our friend Mo Moten. On average, Raiders opponents are starting field position at their 37-yard line. Best in the league. While Raiders start at the 26-yard line. Worst in the league. It's all those turnovers, right? And so now their offense gets to start. Great situation. Special teams hasn't been great. And now you're asking the defense to defend a short field, and you're asking the offense to drive the length of the field. Exacerbating. That's what special teams is, right? It exacerbates. It elevates or deflates the offense and defense, right? Like sometimes like a kick return for a touchdown or Daniel Carson be able to kick 55-yarders, like those are weapons. But really, it's are you helping or hurting the offense and defense with field position? That's pretty much special teams' job, and they're torpedoing both.
There's not much to say, man. There really isn't. It's just fundamental mistakes is that we're making. Not blocking the edge guy on the punt, not blocking the edge guy on a game-winning field goal. Guys running through pretty much untouched. Mm-hmm. We had that issue with the offensive line where they were just not blocking guys. We've kind of ironed that out. Hopefully we iron this out for the kicking team so we don't get them hurt even more than we already have. It's lapses. It seems like it's there's 2 things that could be happening here. Either this is so new and so different than what they've been doing in the past, or they're putting a lot of different players in positions where they haven't been, maybe playing a lot of special teams. I know for a fact that edge guy on punt and on field goal is Michael Mayer. Normally, it's not Jonah Laulu or Ian Thomas. That's who let the guy go free on the punt, and that's who let the guy go free on the field goal. That's normally Michael Mayer out there. So that could be part of it, but it's not an excuse. Everyone that's in the game should know their assignments. On the other hand, it could be very similar to what was happening with the offensive line, where now that seems to be cleaned up a little bit now, and they just need to have more continuity, and people are getting hurt in and out of those positions. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just a shit show.
And now our all-pro punter might be injured and out for a while. Adam Hill reported that he was in the locker room after and saw AJ Cole's ankle, and he said it did not look good. He's not getting into specifics, but he's just like, this wasn't just like a boo-boo. This is rough. That's what happens.
What are you going to do, man? What are you going to do?
Let your punter get killed back there.
Your kickers are very vulnerable out there, and if you're not doing a good job protecting them, they're going to get hurt.
All right. So for the sake of my drinking and our mental health, any positives? Want to end with some positives? Not everything is terrible on a football team, although it feels that way after a 40-6 loss and being 1-4. But I think Ashton Jeanty has shown you give him just a little tiny bit of space. He's
Jackson
awesome.
Powers Johnson, Stone Forsyth looked good. They did a good job of helping him out.
Yeah,
he did good. My thing with Stone Forsyth, he's big. He's a big athletic guy. He's 6'8", 310, athletic. He can move forward and backwards really well. Side to side, a little rough.
Maybe draft.
It just so happens that the Colts didn't have a great pass rush. I think it's going to be a little bit different when they go up against these other teams with number one, quote unquote, number one pass rushers. Mm-hmm. Geno Smith was sacked 4 times. 2 of them were on Geno, holding the ball too long, and not. I don't want to get into it, but the offensive line played much better. Ashton Jeanty had over 100 all-purpose yards on 19 touches. He had 5 receptions, only 14 rushes, which is kind of a bummer. I think we should want him a lot more.
He had more rush yards and more yards per rush than Jonathan Taylor. Like he played better.
Well, Jonathan Taylor, you're starting on the 30-yard line. Yeah, you're not gonna get a lot of yards.
And there's the whole 3 touchdowns to none part too. But hey, we're talking positives here. We're talking silver linings. I think Trey Tucker has come a long way as a route runner. I mean, he's not just using his speed, but he's getting open. I think he's improved a lot this season. Crickets. Yeah,
that's pretty much it, man. It's not a lot.
There's
not a lot. I mean, defensively, not really anything. Even Max didn't have a great game. There's rumblings that he was injured, and there's stuff like that. But that only goes so far. I mean, you still have to go out there and perform. If you're suited up, we still need Max to be Max. Mm-hmm. One of the main things that I was talking about in my defensive keys against the Colts was someone other than Max had to step. There's one person somewhere in that front 7 had to step up. I was hoping it would be Jamal Adams, but he was pretty quiet throughout the game. We're not, if it's not Max Crosby, we're just not creating those havoc plays. Havoc plays are sacks, tackles for loss, pressures, hurries, and quarterback hits. If we don't do without Max Crosby, we wouldn't be doing that hardly at all.
We couldn't do 60 seconds of positivity. It's just so bad right now.
Well, dude, I mean, because we're not liars, because we're not lying. We're not here to make anyone feel better. We're just here to tell you what happened and what we think about it.
We're gonna do some what up Windbags.
Yeah, man, let's get this done.
Solomon Mitchell. Oh wait, no, let's start here. Rory JP579. I really respect your commitment to losing any female listeners within the first minute of each pod.
That's all you, bro.
That's our goal. Yeah, but for every female listener we lose, I think we gain 1.1 male listeners with their dookie humor.
Dookie.
Solomon Mitchell, thank you so much for being a member. We appreciate it. For this season, I'm going with Pete Carroll over Ben Johnson. The Raiders are steadily improving. It's just taking a bit longer than we as fans expected. The Bears are terrible. They didn't beat us. The Raiders beat the Raiders. Steadily improving?
No.
Steadily improving?
We're not. We played better. Well, we didn't play better. We were just playing a worse team in the Bears. These last 4 weeks, we haven't played well. Even that close game was not a good game. We just played a bad team. We played 3 good teams, and that's where we looked the best against the bad team. So it's not like we're improving. We're staying the same. It's just with we're where we at. We're where we are at. It's just the competition gets better, which is why we look worse.
I think, and that's the other problem is I think steadily improving is exactly opposite. Like there are units and players that will spike, but who's consistently getting better? Like Trey Tucker will have a 3 touchdown game and then, get 40 yards the next game. The O-line will play like they look like the worst O-line in football. And then one game they'll be, okay, wow, these guys are semi-decent. Geno Smith will throw no interceptions in a game and then back-to-back 3 interceptions. Like I'm not seeing any steady improvement. I've seen individuals and units be good for periods, but it's not like, you know what I mean? It doesn't look like they're all walking in the same direction to the same destination. It's just kind of like people just wake up one day, have their Wheaties, and have a decent game. A long one from Amlig. We got a lot of Seahawks fans in the comments of the last one talking about Geno Smith. I'm a Hawks fan, and it's been really nice being vindicated about pretty much everything. I've known for over a decade Schneider was our success after the Super Bowl appearances. Pete was just collecting a paycheck and actively making the team worse with his boneheaded decisions. Schneider isn't perfect, but successes far outweigh his failures. Pete wanted to be surprised. Wanted to be surprised he got canned, but he would have a huge smile on his face talking about, we'll get him next year after missing the playoffs and would offer zero indication that he'd change anything. The Russell Wilson trade made too much sense, and so did the Geno trade. Anyone who paid attention knew Geno, despite coming a long way maturity-wise, was still mentally collapsing during games, still throwing tantrums on the sideline, 49er playoff game specifically, and still throwing unnecessarily dangerous balls for interception. I knew with certainty Sam was an upgrade.
Can't call him a liar.
I'm trying to find. That was probably the longest what a Windbags we've ever done. I can't find the lie. You think Pete was just collecting paychecks at the end of the Seahawks thing, or think he was doing his best? Do you think he was checked out, or just doing his best?
Not. No, he was definitely not
checked out.
Collecting paychecks.
Okay.
He won 9 games, dude. He won 9 games. Is the year he was let go. Mm. He was still a winning team. It just. It's hard to argue with it. I'm not saying I agree with it. It's hard to argue with it.
Big difference between the two. I have to have the gusto to argue with that. You know what I mean? I have to be like motivated and emotionally excited to like get into this. But after 46, you're just kind of defeated. Well, it's ironic that we got arguably the worst team in football next week with the Titans. And boy, will that tell us a lot. That will tell us a lot. We play the worst team in football, arguably. And let's see what we bring to the table. I don't even care if we win or lose. I just want to see steady improvement.
Here's the problem. The problem is we're 1-4. Realistically, you need to win 10 games to make the playoffs, okay? So we have to go, 9-2? 9-3? Mm-hmm. 9-3. We have to go 9-3. We still have to play the Chiefs twice, the Broncos twice, the Chargers again, and we still have to play the Eagles, and we have to play the 4-1 Jags. So a lot of tough games, man. The easy part of the schedule was playing the Bears and maybe the Colts. I'm not super sold on the Colts. They're blowing out bad teams, which is fine. You're blowing out bad teams. You're supposed to do that. But yeah, man, these were the Bears game yesterday would have made the season look completely different. 2-3, And the chance to go 3-3 against the Titans is really big. It's a lot better than 1-4. The chance to go 2-4, potentially 2-5 at the bye week. That's rough.
Yeah, I'm less like worked up about this season than a lot of Raider Nation because I saw this as a rebuild year. I'm like, hey, if we double our win total, get to 8 games and improve, I think that's up. I think that's best case scenario. So I'm less like worked up as other people, but that's how I think the season should be approached. It's right. Who's going to be starting next season? Let's focus on these guys. These 1-year linebacker, like get Eichenberg in there. Like I'm not a tank is the wrong word. Still try to win, still play your best, still game plan the best you can. But if it's like some veteran on a 1-year deal that's probably going to be out of the league next season, or a rookie or a guy that hasn't seen a lot of playing time on a rookie deal, like play those guys. Let's see what they got, develop them, and then we'll find out to move on or not. That's how the season should be approached, to me.
I agree.
All right, that's it for us. Early show, early in the week for you guys. While we're still depressed about getting slobber knocked, we'll turn things around at home against Tennessee, right? And until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Well, looky at you making it to the end of this video. You look like you want more. Go ahead and click the next video, and if you really love it, go ahead and subscribe.